Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen. Okay. Evening, everyone. I'll just bring the meeting to order. First, just a notice about the Parish Council does not routinely record or video or webcast this meeting. You should be aware that there is an individual filming this council meeting, and that person is responsible for the recording webcast and not the Parish Council. We understand the legal position and we encourage members of the community to attend and participate. If members of the public do not wish to have their image captured, can you make yourself known immediately? From where it's positioned, I don't think anybody's going to be captured, so I don't think that's an issue. If you are recording this, we understand and respect your right to film. However, in the spirit of public participation, we would hope that you would respect the wishes of your neighbours if they do not wish their image to be captured, which you've done. Thank you. We would encourage you to film the parish councillors whilst we answer questions or make comments. Okay. First of all, an apology. I understand that the agenda was not published on the website. I only noticed that it was brought to our attention this evening. Apologies to everyone for that. The agenda was published on the notice board on Tuesday morning?
No, Monday.
Monday. So it has been officially published on the notice board in the village. But that won't happen here. Okay. Any other notices, Christine? Is that it? Right.
I would just like to mention something before the meeting starts. In the King's Birthday Honours List, a member of our community was awarded the Order of the British Empire, an OBE, which is a great honour, and I think we would all, as a parish council, and I'm sure fellow villagers would like to pass on our congratulations to Mrs. Sharon Kemp for her services to the public authorities and public administration.
Okay, thank you. Go to the agenda, and we're on 27, apologies. To note apologies for absence given in advance. No?
Yes, received from Councillor
Oh, have we?
Montrose.
Apologies. We don't have to go into 27.2 because
None received.
none received. Declarations of interest. To note declarations of interest not already declared on the members' code. In relation to agenda item 45, I will be leaving the meeting when and if a discussion about legal advice relates to CL7, which is the waste, the area of the waste. No dispensations.
No requests. No.
29, public participation. To receive comments, concerns from the members of the public or councillors with an interest, that's normal, who are allowed to speak on items which are not on the current agenda or future, but can be put on the agenda for future consultation. I think everybody knows what the rules are, around 15 minutes maximum unless the chairman extends it. One question per person, and members should not speak for more than 3 minutes. Show of hands on who may wish to ask a question or make a comment. 1, 2. There's 2 people. I'll take them in order. Carl, do you want to
Yes, please, thank you. Bearing in mind that the first registration of land has been a matter of open discussion for the last 3 years or more, could the Parish Council just explain why item 45 warrants exclusion of the public? I'm struggling to understand how an update on the current position can be in any way regarded as prejudicial to the public interest.
Yeah. item at 45 has been excluded from public and press on the basis that legal advice will be discussed from Kilvington solicitors.
Right, it doesn't say that, it just says an update on the current position.
Yeah.
So could the council give us an update on what the status of the first registration is? Or is that now a matter of privacy?
Well, I think it's been a matter of public record over many meetings since September or July 2021, when the application was first made. We're in a position at the moment where we have two formal objections, and those formal objections the council has agreed to enter into negotiation. There's still 2 months left of that negotiation period, and part of 45 is to discuss in council how we approach those negotiations and what we do next. That is in relation to agree a way forward.
Right, okay then. So
But I think it's been, in answer to your question, I don't want to be, mysterious. It's been a matter of public record since 2021.
I understand that, and I'm just perplexed as to why it's suddenly become a private issue. You've explained that there's legal advice, so I accept that.
Yeah.
So all I was asking for is an update. Where are we?
Yeah. Well, I hope I've answered that. Just to clarify, the legal advice being discussed this evening relates to not only the advice from our instructed solicitors, it also deals with advice from council. So there is additional information which is likely to be of a privileged nature, because of course it's related to legal advice, which is why it's out of the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
It's still the parish council's aim to register the land, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we haven't changed. Well, we haven't changed our position, have we?
No.
No.
Good.
After all this time, it would be pretty foolish, wouldn't it, the money we spent on it, everybody.
Well, it's quickly become the biggest item expenditure for the parish council, hasn't it? When you add together all the associated costs that have been incurred.
Yeah. Right. Jim, I think you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It appears from the agenda that tonight's the night Wennington Parish Council family falls in line with the government's regulation on the recording of meetings. Of course, following government regulations is no big deal, but hopefully it might, in the case of Wennington Parish Council, result in minutes and letters that better reflect what is actually said in meetings. For example, I happen to have an audio recording of a council discussion in January, as well as a letter from the council regarding the very same discussion. Worryingly, the council's letter contradicts the council's discussion. Now, the discussion in question related to that evening's public participation, in which I was the only member of the public to participate. According to the audio of this discussion, it was a pretty brutal affair. I was named twice by a councillor who felt she had detected a potential defamation in Mr. Murphy's question and regretted that she hadn't asked Mr. Murphy to withdraw his remark before he left the meeting. That was followed by the chairman talking of legal action. In addition, and more importantly, between the first and the second of my two very public name checks by the councillor, the chairman announced for some reason that there existed a small number of people who victimised councillors and non-councillors alike. Understandably, given such an aggressive and ultra-legalistic response to my question, I wrote to the council to ask if it was saying or insinuating that I was a member of an antisocial criminal group which victimised councillors, sent hate mail and scratched cars. Council's reply to my letter was utterly fatuous. It admitted that there had indeed been a discussion about defamation at that meeting, but then, believe it or not, it insisted there was no suggestion that any question was defamatory. That such a discussion was not generated by the actions or the behaviour of any single individual, including yourself, and insisted 3 times in 3 different ways that I wasn't actually mentioned in the discussion between the chairman and the councillor. Sadly for Wennington Parish Council, I'm afraid the audio reveals very clearly that I was publicly named immediately before and immediately after the chairman's revelation about a small group of people victimising councillors. I don't think I need to remind the council that it's not supposed to defame its own parishioners. So my question tonight is relatively trivial. Does Wennington Parish Council stand by its letter to me? Now, this discussion happened in January. So it might help, Mr. Chairman, if I suggest to you that I've taken the liberty of bringing a recording of that discussion, such that if you and your fellow councillors would like to listen to it before answering my question, I have it here.
Thank you for the offer, Jim.
Do you want to listen to it?
I think the issue that you've at length described is factual.
Sorry?
Is factual. And the letter that was sent back to you in response, I think, is also factual.
Yes.
So, on that basis, we don't want to hear the recording this evening because we don't know who made the recording. We don't know whether it's been edited. And we don't know what the provenance of that recording is.
My question.
The Parish Council takes the view that the official record of the meeting are the published minutes, and as far as I'm aware, a response was sent back to you, basically saying that you were not in any way involved in the comments that were made. I think that answers your question.
I'm afraid, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'm afraid, Mr. Chairman, I have a recording. You say.
Thank you, Jim. We need to move on.
Oh no, Mr. Chairman.
I have answered your question.
May I have a secondary then?
I think the question's been answered.
Might I ask a secondary question? I don't know how it's been answered because you just said both are factual. One contradicts the other, Mr. Chairman.
No.
One does. There was no discussion.
Excuse me a minute, may I have a word with Jen? I don't want to get into an argument, but there are 2 separate issues. One was that he talked about you talking That's a bit of defamatory, which is what out of it. It's not wrong, it's actually douching to put him in a better position. What you said about the news, I said it does have to do with it. So is it all right I say that?
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
I would like to clarify what you had just said, Jim. When I spoke, I had heard you say, and the rest of the room had heard you refer to something Richard had said as in his usual devious way.
No, I didn't say devious.
Yes, you did. And I identified that as being a defamatory remark. And it wasn't the first time that people have said things like that about Richard. And I felt that we should be on a footing where people do not make those kind of comments, no matter how much they disagree with someone else's view. They should not make those sort of comments. And I went on to qualify what I'd said, that I regretted that you had left the room, because I would have liked to have given you the chance to withdraw that remark in the tone in which you made it, because it wasn't necessary to say that. You could have got your point across in a different way, and what I was doing was giving you the chance to, well, giving us all a chance to be civilised about what you had said, what you had intimated about the chairman. When other things were mentioned, we were not talking about you. It was a totally different matter. You were not being referred to. You were only being referred to in relation to having said something which was potentially defamatory, and you were actually being mentioned in the sense that I would have liked to have given you a chance to have withdrawn that remark. You could have made your point, but without that kind of inference about the chairman. And so there are two issues. So please do not think that you were the subject of the other remarks that were made about certain intimidating, unpleasant behaviour. You were not being referred to then, and you were not being included then. No one was named, and you were certainly not included in that group in any way, shape or form that could be identified. So if that is how your letters have been answered. So you have not been, nothing has been said or done which puts you in a bad light. You are not being connected with remarks made in a general sense about certain things that have happened in the village. So I hope you're reassured by that. Your reputation has not been impugned by the parish council whatsoever. And in fact, the fact that I would have liked you to withdraw your remark shows that I didn't think you really meant to be insulting, or you meant to be defamatory. Otherwise, I would not have made that comment that I wish you'd had the chance to withdraw it. So that's the position, and I think I've probably said enough now.
Thank you, Sue.
With respect, Councillor, I don't accept my question, or any part of my question was defamatory, or as you put it, potentially defamatory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but only a judge can decide if a remark is defamatory.
I think
you spoke
took
about
a part of the question was potentially
Yes.
defamatory.
Yes,
So that was your
that was
take
my
on it.
opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So
the remark.
you weren't involved in the
mentioned
second
earlier.
part of the discussion, Jim, and we've written to you to explain that. So there is no question of saying or
More to the
saying
point,
that you've been defamed. Okay, now
would you like to say that clearly so everyone can understand it, everyone can hear it, Mr.
I've already
Chairman?
said it, Jim. If you are offended by it or taken exception to what was said, on behalf of the council, we apologise to you. But it was not intended to defame you, and you were not included in the remarks, which has been put in the letter quite correctly, which you've now received. So if you have been offended, or you feel as if you've been defamed, please accept our apology.
Accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Shall we move on? Are there any other, we have a heavy agenda here and some really interesting agenda items. Are there any comments that anybody wants to make about the rest of the agenda? I know we'll be talking about the traffic issues later, which has exercised a lot of people's time and attention. Are there any comments that anybody wants to make in relation to that? Okay. Right, let's move on. If I can find the right page. To confirm the minutes of the previous meeting of the 20th of May. All seen?
I'm happy with it.
Yeah. 31 for the Appleby Transit encampments. 31.1 to receive any correspondence on this matter, if any.
None.
None received.
None received, no.
Thank you. To review the matter and agree any actions required. Can I, just for the benefit of members and everyone present, just sort of summarise what happened in July. I beg your pardon, June. The first indication that the travellers were moving through to Appleby was on the Monday the 20th of the 5th, when we had a small group of people on their way through. The councillor approached every single member of that group as we have, as per the protocol, the unauthorised encampment protocol, and pointed out the fact that there was cabling on the green, not to put their horses or tether their horses anywhere near trees, and if possible to indicate when they were going. They indicated they would only be there for a few days, didn't give any precise date or time, and on the 11th, I believe they were right, sorry, the 20th of the 5th, we had 11 days to the 31st of the 5th, when either one or the other of the greens was occupied by the GRT community. The last one left before Appleby on the 31st, the flagpole was erected and the flag was flown for the commemoration of the D-Day landings without any issues. 7 days after that, on Sunday the 9th of June, two motorised vehicles appeared, and then two other vehicles, making a total of 5. They stayed till the 15th of June, making a total of 6 days. So the total number of days that the green was occupied by the encampment was in total 17 days. During that period, there was some damage to trees, and I've had a letter from David Mangan's partner about the damage to David's memorial tree, which I reassured her that we would attempt to rectify, and it's only minor. A horse has chewed the bark of the tree, so it's already been coated with black paint, or whatever the substance you use. So we will address that. There was one fire on the 13th of June during the whole period. The encampments received daily visits from councillors, and on that I just want to thank the parishioners that informed the parish council and assisted the parish council in relation to movement and the fact that rubbish had to be collected from the corner of the schoolhouse green. I've already said that they were reminded of the cabling. They were reminded that domestic waste removal by arrangement would be undertaken by the parish council, which it was, almost on a daily basis. City council removed the domestic waste when requested to do so, on some occasions within the hour. No reports of crime or antisocial behaviour were received, either by parish council or city council. There was access to driveways was not impeded. Issues raised, factors affecting the encampment, the weather. There was heavy rain during the encampment, and there was temporary damage to the surface of the greens as a result of the wheels and the heavy vehicles. Another factor was the number of travellers that went through the village between the 20th and the 30th, the 31st. We're not sure why that happened. There was quite a large number of travellers and vehicles. I went to speak to the person that appeared to be in charge of the temporary encampment, and he then lined up the vehicles, the motorised vehicles that were already on the green across the roadway, preventing anybody else from going onto the schoolhouse green. So now, basically, they were restricting access for other people to go on the green. So they responded to our request favourably. As I've mentioned, there was one fire, and immediately afterwards I spoke to the man again, and he reassured me there wouldn't be any more fires. Were there? No. And I've already mentioned the damage to the trees. So that really is a short summary of where we are. There was quite a few good-humoured, respectful and mutual respect between Parish Council and the travellers. And when they were asked to do something, they obliged. Two instances. First, a horse had been tethered and was breaking open a rubbish bag. The horse was removed immediately from the area. The rubbish bag was resealed, and it was taken away the following morning. A flatbed vehicle, parked in a way that could have obstructed access to one of the houses on the green. The driver was spoken to, and within 30 minutes the vehicle was moved away from the access driveway. Anything to add? You were on the green,
Yes,
and you were any thoughts?
No, there was no noise at all. In fact, they went to bed before I did. And I'd just like to congratulate Trevor in particular, but also other councillors and other members of the parish who got the green looking brilliant again very quickly. There was a lot of treading in and rolling, and it looked very good, so thank you for that. I think it was a good communal effort to bring it back up to scratch.
Yeah, good. I have been contacted by a parishioner prior to this meeting, and I was hoping he would be here, but he's not. And there are 2 or 3 things I'd like to say about the overall situation, about the GRT encampments, Gypsy Romany and Traveller encampments. We need to be clear as a parish council that there is no power to stop the travellers' right of access to the greens, the village greens. There is no legal way we can prevent them from doing it. Council has to comply with the law as it relates to common rights. We must comply with the laws of discrimination as well. So by discriminating against one group, particularly the travellers, there could be implications there around the discrimination law. And of course, rights of access not only apply to travellers, they also apply to other people, including people that live in the village. Any response has to be proportionate, and we should not overreact. I think we've spoken about this in the past. If we overreact, there's a high potential for conflict between residents and the travelling community. So I think the way that it's been handled this year, which has been negotiation, engagement, respectful exchanges, I think is the way forward. The plan for next year, the learning from it, I think, if we can go on to that, is that we will continue to review and update the protocol with Lancaster City Council. And last year we had a meeting between the director of something, I forget what his title was, but they sent out one of their senior officers to come and talk to us about that. So we'll try and do that again to get some feedback from them. Next year, to engage again with the travellers, meet them when they arrive, have a conversation with them, and try and get their mutual respect. Tolerance, I think, is a key issue, but from both sides, us, Relations Parish Council, parishioners and the travellers, and we need to manage the inconvenience. So there is a disruption, we just need to make sure that it's minimal.
And I think the LCC was key that they had a consistent policy towards the travellers across their area.
Yeah, across the district.
Yeah.
And if there is fear around the presence of travellers, we need to work on that and try and find a way of dispelling that fear by way of communication. Do you want to add anything?
I said, were they asked if they do have a fire to lift it off the floor? Do I remember that? And is that something that should be asked before they arrive, or when they first arrive next year, to avoid having to do it in retrospect, if you will?
Good point.
Something that happened with last year was that, wasn't it?
So again,
It was something that happened with last year, was that
someone came with a fire dish or whatever they call it, but on this occasion they didn't remove the turf and they set the fire in the middle of the schoolhouse green, didn't they, for one night?
Yeah.
I spoke to the senior member of their group. He apologised and said it won't happen again, and he was going to speak to the two individuals that lit the fire, and it didn't. Good point, thank you. Any steps we take to protect the trees next year from the tethered horses?
What to speak even?
So just reminding them not to tether.
I suppose. Or two.
Okay. But there's no arrangements to be made around putting tape or something around them? No. Okay. Right. That's it. Thank you. Shall we move on? The agenda item 32, to consider two policies this evening. One is a biodiversity policy and the second is the recording policy. So let's deal with the biodiversity one first. Are you all ready? Any immediate comments or thoughts?
Quite an ambitious policy. I think it's admirable that we should raise awareness of biodiversity as much as we can, but we are a small parish council and a small parish, so we just need to look for opportunities where we can input some care into looking after the biodiversity, and perhaps welcome any ideas that the local school, which would be Melling, might have for any kind of learning or projects that we could facilitate them with.
I think for me, thank you. Have you got any points on it? For me, it was raised at the last meeting by, kindly raised at the last meeting by a parishioner that we didn't have one. So of course we've put this together. Christine, thanks to Christine for doing that. The key points that come out of this for me are that we were already doing some of this without having to have a policy in front of us. For instance, the management of the greens, the management of the woodland, the tree survey, the biennial tree surveys, acting upon the advice of Mr. Anthony Wood. We have had meetings with the Environment Agency and acted on their advice. We've had meetings with the Forestry Commission and acted on their advice. We have left areas uncut around the edges of the green. And we have attempted to do what we can. I think where we can improve as a result of this, and this is the learning for me, is that we need to be more focused when we get planning applications on what is there a benefit to biodiversity in every single planning application that we now look at. And I think that's an omission that we haven't really been focused, we haven't done that, we haven't been focusing on it. So for me, that's one thing that comes out of it. The second thing is about involving members of the community in some of these projects, or proposed projects. and asking people to come up with their own ideas as to what we can do, and then look at them carefully, look at the costing, look at what difference it makes to the use of the village greens and woodland, and then take a decision as to whether we would support the written proposal. The biodiversity survey last done was in relation and at the time of the neighbourhood development plan. That would have been, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, something around 2017, around that sort of period. So we're sort of, what's that, 7 years in, and there may well be a need. We put it in here to commit to a biodiversity survey, and I think we need to think in the next 12 months to repeat that. And there may be ways of getting funding to support that, so that parishioners don't have to contribute during the precept discussions. Those are the key points. Or anything else there that jumps out at you? No. Okay, so shall we propose? So
Yes, well, I propose that we adopt it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a seconder, so we'll pass that. What we'll do, Christine, we'll put this as soon as possible onto the website.
Yep.
And then I'm sure it will generate some interest. And then we will work with anybody that comes forward with any suggestions that might support this policy. Okay.
There's certain rules that will have to be met yet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right, yeah. Okay, good. The second one, the recording policy. Right. We've kicked this around a number of times, and thanks again to 1 or 2 parishioners that have pointed out the error of our ways. The latest iteration of this was last reviewed on the 18th of March. Is that right? And essentially the preamble at the beginning is the same, but what we've done, we've taken out paragraph 10, I believe, which was the request of one of our parishioners, and we've amended paragraph 13, which was the one that caused an issue. So, all seen it? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are we in agreement?
Just a slight
Yeah.
change. We don't need laws of libel and defamation. It's the laws of defamation.
Yeah. Should we take that out?
Which paragraph?
14.
Yeah, but that's just a, you know.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4th line. Laws of defamation. Take out the libel. Okay. We'll publish this as soon as possible.
Can we just have a proposal in a second?
Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2.
Thank you.
Okay. Just before we move on, I know there's been some interesting exchanges about this. On behalf of the council, if anybody has been offended or upset, then we apologise. We hope we've now got it right, and we hope that you will look at this in the spirit in which we've adopted this particular policy, and we've taken out those bits of the policy that have caused irritation and concern in the past. So when you've read this, if there's anything else that occurs to you, please let us know in writing. But I'm sure that this meets certainly the points that were raised at the last meeting. Okay? Received the clerk's report, which we've all seen, for information only. Thank you, Christine. It just draws our attention to the incoming emails on what we have to look at, and I think we've addressed most of it, or it's just for information only. Thank you. 34, police report, anything?
No, I have chosen. No, nothing.
35 highway matters to receive feedback and a report from the 7th of June meeting with 2 county councillors, Councillor Maxwell Scott and Councillor Swarbrick, who is the Cabinet Member for Highways.
Yes.
Which means he's quite important. I think this has been well documented. It's been in minutes. We have put it onto the website, we put it onto the notice board. We've had letters from parishioners. An example of one is the increase or the perceived increase in motorcycles coming from the village as a result of the displacement on average speed cameras on the Melling Road. So we raised that with the 2 councillors when we met them.
We 3.
The 3 of us here, myself, Sue and Trevor, met with the councillors, and I'm pleased to say that we had 6 members of the community join us, who were concerned about the B6480 and the problems that emanate from it. As a result of that, what the council have done is prepared a draft report for highways, and I'm very grateful for those people that have responded with suggestions, and they will be integrated into the report before it goes off to Highways Department. I have to make it clear that the council is not making any recommendations or decisions in relation to the report going to Highways. It's simply a report based upon the concerns of residents on pointing out what Parish Council would like Highways Department to address. But no recommendations. It's not going to a quasi-judicial panel. It's just going to the Cabinet Member, and the Cabinet Member will then progress the concerns. I think it's worth just very briefly identifying what those concerns are. I'll be brief. The walkthrough started off at the bridge, and the first concern was Wennington Bridge to Lodge Lane, and residents raised the points that the damage to the bridge on the south-east parapet has not been repaired. As you look at the bridge from Pinfold Green, there is some damage to the top parapet stonework, which has been pointed out to council, and that's still outstanding. So that's been pointed out again. The erosion of the bedrock on the other side of the river, on the north side of the bridge, where the stanchions are, and it's been pointed out by councillor that some of the base bedrock has been eroded away and moved. Carriageway markings west of the Narrows have degraded, so we pointed that out to the Cabinet Member, and we got a very positive response to that straight away. And we pointed out the giveway markings and signs at the junction with the B6480 and Lodge, and it was pointed out, and in fact witnessed by the 2 councillors, that the junction there does present a problem with cars coming south from Lodge turning left with restricted view, and that it could end up with an accident or a fatal, both. So we pointed that out to them, and we await them, or we will await them responding to that. Concern 2, single lane restriction known as the Narrows. The reflective signs are damaged in the road itself, both sides. The white and the red plastic reflectors are no longer there. They've either been completely knocked down or damaged. Traffic from both directions is unregulated, so it's very much reliant upon individuals slowing down for other people. Normally it works, on some occasions it doesn't, and we have confrontations, and we have the makings of problems. Excess speed, a danger to pedestrians walking through the Narrows, that was pointed out, and the surface water flooding from runoff from the field to the north of the B6480, next to where the Institute has been rebuilt. We are getting water coming off there into the narrows. Concern 3, excess speed east of the narrows at the junction with Spout Lane. What's happening, and it was witnessed on the morning, was that vehicles coming through the narrows see the 50-mile-an-hour sign and are accelerating early, so that when they reach the junction with Spout Lane, they are in excess of the 30-mile-an-hour restriction. And locals do it, as a matter of course, I understand. The speed post has been damaged on the right-hand side of the road as you come out of the village, so we've drawn that to the attention of Highways in order to repair that, with a possibility that we may be looking for funding from outside sources for our own speed. Road surface undermined opposite Spout Lane due to drainage issues. This is an ongoing problem which we've raised again, and we've asked them to look at that. There's subsidence there, and the road has been repaired many times, but seems to be collapsing again. Concern 4, the 50-mile-an-hour sign from the other side of Spout to Ravens Close Brow, excess speed, dangerous bends. You've only got to walk along there to see that the bollards have been damaged, and there's vehicle debris, there's registration marks and partly lying on the side of the road where they've collided with trees. Clearly there's a problem there with the speed at 50. Reflective markers damage on the south side of the road. There's been a bit of subsidence as well on the right hand side, so we pointed that out as we walked through. And one of the most important things that we wanted to get across was the serious and regular flooding of the highway near Craven's Farm, resulting in frequent road closures. I think that's a very important point to get them to address straight away. Moving on from there in the same area, residents exiting and entering Craven's settlement on that 50-mile-an-hour stretch. One parishioner or two have said it's very difficult for them to come out with the speed of cars coming around the corner. It doesn't give them any chance or any braking distance for a safe exit and entry to their premises. And the junction with Ravens Close Brow itself, as you come out of Ravens Close Brow, looking left, there's overgrown foliage, and it's a very difficult angle to look to the left as you're trying to pull out. So we have raised that with them to see whether we can improve, or they can improve, the junction itself. Again, we haven't made any recommendations, we've just pointed out the issue. And then Ravens Close Brow itself, we've had a number of residents and a landowner come to us saying significant surface water flooding and drainage and culvert issues, blockages, and flooding of private property. And then finally, the uneven road surface as you go out of the parish into North Yorkshire. The road surface has never been repaired since the collapse of the side of the road to the left as you go towards Bentham. So we asked Mr. Councillor Swarbrick to travel up there, which he did. Have I covered most of the things? I'm going to just open it up because there are two parishioners here who have contributed quite a lot to this. Does anyone want to make any comment on the report? We have received a very good bit of feedback from one parishioner, which all of that will be put into the report before it goes off. Then the report will be circulated to the group that are involved in advising the situation, and then we will send it off to the council. Worth noting that Councillor Maxwell Scott has been fighting our corner. He uniquely and interestingly was able to get the cabinet member out, which was to his credit, and both of them were very supportive on if not all of the issues, making an improvement. And I believe we have received an email saying that some of these improvements are already underway in relation to road markings and the drainage issue at Ravens Close Brow and also outside Cravens.
And we've also endorsed the extension of the 30 happen.
Yeah. What we've said is that we've asked them to look at it, to say whether there is a, you know, they think it would be possible reduction from 50 down to 30 through the S-bends.
No, sorry, I was talking about the road up to Lily.
Lodge.
Lodge Lane.
Walk past
The
Wennington
extension
Hall.
of the 30-mile-an-hour limit.
That's already been
Yeah,
decided.
yeah, it has, yes,
Yeah, but we said that we had already in minutes agreed,
Yeah.
supported it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood you.
If you don't mind, yeah. One more general point that we've been talking about as on this whole issue is making sure that the council is not the parish council, I'm talking about Lancashire, are not left unaware that this is an evidence-based set of proposals that are being covered. And in trying to do exactly that, there will be some real value from people reporting particular accidents, particular near misses as well as they go. Now that might be seen as sort of, you know, quite difficult to do, or people just forget about it, but certainly at the moment, as this is being put together, if that could be a sort of big push from yourselves on the council to request that information, because the evidence-based nature of it is sort of paramount. Things like particular crashes that have happened, they're there and evidenced by new brickwork or a lack of brickwork in particular walls. So it's trying it, and you've talked about, and we'll be adding within your report, I think, a number of photographs to show some of that. So it's not just sort of, you know, there have been multiple accidents over X number of years, but very specifically due to this, due to the flooding, or due to whatever, the narrows as they're set up. You know, an accident took place on such and such a date with such and such an outcome, and it could have resulted in further. Those sorts of things, I think, not to try and deluge the council with a lot of information, but to try and sort of, you know, concentrate minds better.
Thank you. And of course, just adding to that, some of the accidents are not reported. And that makes it difficult then really to gather the information for highways. But we do our best to do that.
I think it's just trying to sort of reiterate to people the importance of it, to try and get the list, and there's quite a lengthy list as you've just gone through, trying to get as much as we can of it done. You know, if you miss the opportunity now, it might take a long time to bring it back onto the agenda.
Thank you for all your points that you've sent to us. Just on that, in terms of monitoring performance or keeping a close eye on this, we'll have this on the agenda every meeting, every 2 months, with hopefully Councillor Maxwell coming along and updating us on what highways are doing. So we'll have him to tell us what the success is, and inevitably, because of this, there are things that they won't be able to do immediately. It might be a mid-term, perhaps even a long-term solution. So at least we get, we keep a bit of pressure on. But thanks everybody for doing that.
Do I take it that the speed limit has been agreed to be extended beyond Wennington Hall?
It's been out for public consultation, and I think, as far as I'm aware, yes, it has been agreed.
It's been pretty quick, hasn't it, compared with our request at Craven's, where there's at least 10 times the amount of traffic and far more danger.
It's interesting to compare the two applications or the two comments.
Well, there are only four dwellings there.
Right, point taken. Okay. Right. What's next? I'm going to list my spot on.
25.2.
To consider a no highway matters for information. Nothing. No. Right. 36. Sus Strands to receive feedback from a meeting with Jim Yeoman, project engineer, design and engineering team, in June, and to agree a way forward. Do you want to
Which one's
speak on that, or this is the Sus Strands meeting?
Oh, yeah.
I think we can short circuit this because, yeah, I think it was a very productive and a very useful meeting, and we, myself and Councillor O'Brien met with Mr. Yeomans, who's in fact just started his job,
Yes.
so he was reeling himself in.
Yeah.
And we were encouraged that he told us that it's progressing from Caton through to the junction with the B6480, and there are plans to move it towards Hornby and then into Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, using the horse track or the cycle track. We asked a couple of questions, Sue and I, and they're looking at, well, they're in what's called a route options analysis at the moment, ROA, that they will conduct that, and they want to finish that in October 24. Key points are that their biggest concern is the gradient of the roads and area around Wennington. It's no surprise that Wennington is in a valley itself with both sides, so if you want to get from the railway station out of the village, you've got a problem. There's a gradient is their biggest concern. With the general points, we mentioned that Mr. Councillor Maxwell Scott was on the district, was on their senior group, and we would keep updated via or through him. Interestingly, there's a stakeholder group, and we have been invited as two members of the Wennington Parish Council to sit on the stakeholders group for forthcoming meetings, which is in late summer 24. They're very conscious of biodiversity and ecology and are willing to look at various options with us. They were interested in bus services and trains to and from Wennington Station. I think we can short circuit this. What about inviting Jim to the next meeting?
I think that would be
Yeah,
a good idea.
to do a presentation.
Yeah, because by that time you'll probably have a better idea of the
Yeah,
routes
it's
proposed.
September.
Yeah.
I think the route analysis will then have been, well underway. What do you think?
Well, you just said, what's it, October, didn't you?
No, September isn't the next meeting.
Hours, but you said that, what's it, he wouldn't have everything sorted until October.
He's looking at, yes, what did I say?
Did you say October? I've written October.
I think you did say.
Aiming to
End
do
of-
it
end of-
by October 2024.
Right.
Yeah.
I misread it. It's, in fact, it started in October 23, apologies, and it should have been finished in March 24, the ROA.
Should have.
It should have, but it's still being looked at.
But because of the difficulties, they appear to be thinking of Wennington, a route to and from Wennington as being more of a loop than as part of a through route. It was, as a diversion if someone wanted to do a little short walk, including the station or the bus stops and things. But because of the difficulties of connecting up, they're not really wanting the main road to go, main path to go through Wennington.
No. I think what, just to sort of to deal with that, his thoughts were that Wennington Station would be somewhere where people would travel to and then walk back down the path to Ray, Hornby and back into Lancaster. That was his view, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because he felt that although they wanted to link us, Wennington, with Melling, there were difficulties there again with gradient and roads and availability.
Yeah.
So, but if we invite Jim to the next meeting, why don't we do that? And then everybody can get it from him. And it's 2 months on, isn't it? So he would have, hopefully, would have had a
When you were saying this is a path, isn't it?
right. It's the cycle network. This Sustrand cycle network. It's got to be. There are minimum requirements. So it's got to be 3 metres wide. It's got to be a substantial, surface, not necessarily tarmac, but it's obviously got to take cycles and wheelchairs.
So when you're mentioning gradient, is that part of it as well? That
Yeah.
it's limited gradient.
Yeah. So anything over 5% gradient is not within their specification. So coming out of Wennington, virtually, any way you go, you are looking at a substantial gradient. So we'll let him talk about that. Yeah. Are we all agree? Can we put it on the next agenda then, please? Finances. To agree the accounts for payment. All single.
Yes.
Yeah. Ordinary.
Yes.
Nothing there contentious at all. Service charge, salary, HMRC. Okay, that's
They're on, I've put them on today. Would you like to press go, please?
okay. Right, so we can get them paid. Thank you. 37.2 to note receipts.
So the receipts since the last meeting have been £1,374.04p.
Right, that's in relation to the
Well, most of
way
it,
leave.
£1,324.04p was the way leave, and £50 was a refund on the fees for the insurance, which Richard got back.
Well, you can only try. So after we paid the 7,000 odd, 700, I contacted them and said, would they waive their
fee.
their
Admin fee.
admin fees? And very kindly they came back and said they would. So we've got a refund of 50. The 1,003 something
Yeah, 324.
is in relation to the
Openreach way leave.
way leave, which we put through lawyers.
Yes.
That's at no cost to parishioners because the lawyers' fees were paid by
By the
Openreach.
company, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got an income of 1,300 odd to add to our expenditure, our reserves. So that's quite a good month actually in terms of note receipts. Thank you. Review bank reconciliation. You got to do that.
Okay.
You did last month, I think, because I was on.
Because it says in the standing orders not to be signed by the chair. So can I've signed it, if you're happy, Sue, would you mind signing it as well?
The whole pen doesn't work, by the way. It's run out. Pity.
To me.
Thank you.
And then 37.4 to review the budget position for the current year 24-25 and agree an environment if necessary. Everybody seen it?
Yeah, so there's nothing on there that needs alignment. Everything so far is predicted to come in on budget or under budget. There's no overspend predicted.
And there are no unplanned for costs that we're aware of.
No.
Nothing's coming.
So if there's any questions, so it's all looking as
We're
it
on
should.
course.
Okay.
Right, moving on. 38 to consider quotes for redesign of the website and agree a way forward. Now this was raised in the audit by the auditor
Yes,
about compliance with the accessibility laws,
yes.
and that prompted us then to look at our own website to see whether it needs updating. and we felt that in order to meet the recommendation from the auditor, we would go out for some estimates
Yes.
as to what it would cost us for a professional company to look at website design for us.
Yeah.
We've now received 3 quotes back. Yeah. Now, we're not going to talk about the costs involved here
No.
because that's commercially sensitive.
So can I just make some comments about them?
Of course you can, please do. Yeah.
So one of them is a silly price, and I would say there's no way they can justify that price. I wouldn't personally discount that one straight away. One of them, which was the cheapest price, was a bit crafty because what I asked for was a quote for a redesign of the website only. After it's been redesigned, we would manage that ourselves. Phil is the brains behind our current website, but I put things on and take things off. It's not difficult. So we weren't asking for a management service. And what they quoted for is the original design, and they've done a lovely cheap price for that. But then they sneak in a management fee for monthly managing it. So I contacted them to say, no, we didn't want that service. And they've come back and said, they won't provide it without that service. So they quoted for something that we didn't actually ask for. And I think they were just trying to sort of slip that one under the wire. So I wasn't personally impressed with that. I didn't feel as though they were particularly upfront. That left the
last one.
the medium price one. This is a company that I've actually worked with before. This is a company.
Is it a local company, first of all?
It's High Bentham,
Right.
and they did the website for High Bentham probably about 3 years ago. They did a really good job, but the prices have gone up quite a lot in 3 years.
And what's the feedback from Bentham on the quality of the... I've looked at the website, it looks pretty useful, but I wouldn't say it's outstanding.
Well, no, but
Would you?
it's got everything on there. What would you like to see on there, actually, that wasn't on there? It's got everything on there that was supposed to have, hasn't it? A council, a parish
It looked a
council.
bit sort of bland.
Oh, yeah.
Does it mean if we want the sort of a sparkly one, we have to pay lots of money then?
Not necessarily. So I'm clerk for a different council as well, and they've just paid for a new website. They are paying a company to manage it going forward. But I'll be putting things on there, and they've given me some really good training. And actually, the most interesting thing that's come out of the training is the thing that really makes your website stand out is really good photographs. What you need is really good photographs of the local areas from councillors or parishioners, and that will bring any of the facts alive.
That's what I thought Bentham was okay, but it seems to have dropped off with...
It's very document heavy.
Yeah.
It is very, very document heavy.
Well, this is one that we haven't asked to provide a quote.
We've asked them to...
The one that the other...
No,
council.
because they're also a quarterly, they're also a monthly management.
Right.
You know, an ongoing regular cost that we don't really need. They all use WordPress.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Feels around.
Well, I mean, design-wise is telling them what you want, really, isn't it? If they're you know, they've got their own ideas. It's a question of if they give us an idea of what they're going to do, we can have input as well. But for me, it's really how easy it is to maintain and actually work with it. That's, you know, for you, it's the biggest driver as well.
Well, all the quotes seem to include training, so
We do. Nothing around training I've already had, but the other council have paid for. That's my report. The one that's in High Bentham, they did give me some training, and it's WordPress. And I did find theirs significantly easier to use than the one that my other council had when I arrived. Theirs was also WordPress, but it was horrible to put things on. They had a lot easier theirs. They also have an office in, you know, the little trading estate in High Bentham. They've got an office there. They're really good if you ring them up and ask a question. But if you just want to pop down, they're quite good at sitting there and showing you how to. Yeah, it was very easy to sort out anything.
I mean, I have to say, I'm not impressed with any of the three. One is ridiculously expensive. One is quoted for something that we didn't ask for, and one actually split. And one is, still has management fees.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, there's one in there. The middle one's ridiculously expensive. The one that quoted for something that we didn't want is the one with the management fee.
Yeah.
So there is one in the middle which isn't a management fee.
It's web hosting, isn't it? I think I'm looking at
Yeah, that's £99 a year, but they'd all have that just to have the website up for you. The others were wanting £23.50 a month on top of that to add things on there. But if you're not happy with them,
let's just rethink this.
Yeah.
Let's not make a decision on this evening, because I think there are reasons not to take any of these three. Seriously worried about what we're locking ourselves into. And if we've got a 12-month contract where we've got initial payment plus a hosting fee and then ongoing monthly costs plus VAT. Plus VAT.
Yeah, no, we weren't intending to have any of them with the ongoing costs. That's that, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but none of them are offering that, are they?
They are. The middle price fund from Benston. There'd still be an annual hosting fee from all of them.
Yeah. Well, look, can we?
Is that what hosted fees is that for? Because if the domain's already hosted, we're already paying for that, aren't we?
Well, I can't find us paying for a domain name, although we've got one.
Yeah, there is a payment.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, we took the .org.
We paid recently for email addresses. Yeah, that was for email addresses, wasn't it? But going back, I looked into the last 3 years' accounts. I've emailed you about it actually. I can't say it's paying for a domain name, but we have got one. We need to look into this.
Yeah, I think it's premature to make a decision on this. I mean, I know there's an outstanding recommendation from the audit, but I think just to be sure, we don't want to.
We've got a time span, haven't we? We have a time span in this, from the auditor to say when we actually see.
Well, that's technically not quite right. It is a legal requirement that we have an accessibility statement on our website, and we don't have one because we don't know if our current website is accessible. So that's why it all started. We need to make sure that the website is accessible.
So what you're saying is that there's an imperative that we do move on.
Or that we stick an accessible
You
statement on.
You can't put the accessible statements on unless you know for a fact that.
That's what I mean. Unless we go through the year.
You do have to scan it for accessibility first and all that jazz.
Well, okay. So what do we do then?
Who works out whether it's accessible or not? What's the process of ensuring it's accessible?
So the company who put the website up there for you, because they've just done this at my other council, we have a layout school video, I send them all the items, it all goes up, and then on the day it goes live, they run a scan. So they would check every single thing on there to see if somebody who was partially sighted was reading the pages, that the items would read out to them, the software that people have.
If they're all using.
So the company runs the scan,
Yeah.
and then your accessibility statement is that you meet the accessibility requirements of such and such a legislation, and the scan was last run on X date.
Right.
To say when.
So bearing in mind that they're using, you said they were all using WordPress.
Yes.
So that means that WordPress has the capability to meet the accessibility.
It does, but
so all we would have to do would pay for a scan on the current site then, if.
every time you put something on there, you have to put a description in what the article is, the item, so that when somebody uses the accessibility software, it reads out to them what it is. So if every single thing that's on the website currently has had that done when things were put on, it'd be fine.
Right.
But I rather think that won't
That
be
sounds
done.
like a good work, yeah.
So it's not difficult to do. You upload the PDF document and there's a space in the where you're uploading it to write what you need to write. But you have to do that for every PDF document.
And do we have to go back and do everything that's on there already?
Well, if you wanted to put statements on that site, we would. So that's why the idea was, let's just have a new site and get a firm to do it.
Right, to move all of our stuff onto the new
Site
site.
with
And
the
then
accessibility thing
for the
written into
accessibility.
it. Then they can run the scan, then they can write the statement and say it was scanned on such and such and date and it passed.
And it passed the recommendation,
Yes.
it passed the legislation. Well, we've got to make a decision.
Got one payment. Just one payment.
No, from going. Oh, no, the one.
The one at Benfield was a one-off thing.
One off, and there's no.
No, there's a
You
one-off
sure?
payment for doing the site, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a yearly fee, but all the others, that's for what they call web hosting. You have to tell me what that involves. I'm not a web person. But all of the others wanted, on top of that, that's a box standard that everybody approached.
Okay.
The others wanted an extra £23.50 a month to just, to just put things up there. Well,
Because one didn't come back with a figure and basically said depends on what you want. So the base figure was just extraordinarily high, wasn't it? So right, so we've clearly got to get this sorted this evening. We've got to make ourselves compliant. We've got to meet the legal requirement compliance. So which one?
Well, it has to be
There's
a
only
little
one.
one.
the little one.
And we haven't budgeted for this, have we? That's the only thing that I would add. Where would we be looking at wiring money into this?
Well, we've got the stuff from the Wayleaf.
Yeah, well, the way technically you'd say it's coming out of reserves, but the reserves that you're spending have already been recovered by the Wayleaf. That's more than the cost
So
of this.
if we decided to go with this middle option and we know what the costs are there, we've seen them, and then we would look at our reserves and wire that money over to kick it off and start the process, or invite them to start the process.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have sufficient funding to do that.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Is that proposal?
So I propose that we accept that particular.
And you're putting the minutes the name of the company and the costs.
Yeah.
And is it useful to have a sort of launch meeting with them then? Just in terms of
You might be able to that.
they know what we want out of it and what our expectations are.
Do you want to do that, Phil?
The best person to do it, aren't you?
Well, I'll just well, probably you and Will making sure it's
So the two of you to take it forward. Then.
Yeah. So can I ask you if you've got any really lovely pictures of the area, photographs? You have to be really careful that you've got the copyright for everything you put up there, you see. So I can't just
if it's
go out pinching nice pictures.
if members of if parishioners freely give the right to publish their pictures. But I think we've got some good photographers in the village, so maybe a notice on the notice board saying,
And the website.
you know, we on the website that we'd like to see some interesting pictures of the village at different times of year and different aspects of the village.
What you're asking for.
Okay. Right. So have we got a proposal?
We've got a proposal as soon.
Right. Second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's move on to 39. Consider the following correspondence. That's the Lancashire County Council Public Rights of Way Local Delivery Scheme 24-25. So we have applied for this in the past, and I think it's up to £500, isn't it, for
This,
footpath
yeah,
maintenance?
that's right.
Yeah,
And then there's another element now. There's now
biodiversity of 300.
300.
Which we could apply for next year, couldn't we?
Nobody applied for it.
Oh, we have. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. So it's just really because did we find out that you as the clerk you have approached them and they have agreed to extend or include us in the allocation?
They sent us the information and they knew that nearly everybody who got it would have a council meeting in time to agree. So we gave permission for the clerks to put in a preliminary
Okay.
application. So I did that back down.
Right, so the preliminary application's in. Tonight is to agree
It has-
as a council
Yeah.
that we have
And it has to
applied.
be minuted, yeah.
Right. Well, we're minuting that then. We're agreeing that. The £500 for the maintenance of public rights of way,
And
and
£300
£300 towards any diversity initiatives,
yeah.
biodiversity initiatives that come forward.
My understanding is you have to report what it's actually been spent on.
Yeah.
If you don't spend on it, they can probably ask for it back, but it seems that what they normally do is they just roll it
Carry
over
on,
into the
yeah.
next year.
They did to last year, didn't they?
Fine.
Well, I think the biodiversity small grant would fit in nicely with our biodiversity policy,
Yeah.
and certainly there would be ways of raising the environment in the public mind, and possibly with Welling School or one of the schools anyway. And I notice all the things that we can make with the money. We get a lot of bug hotels and next boxes for 250 quid, don't we? So there's a lot of
So
possibility there, I think.
we are essentially agreeing in this meeting that the preliminary application you put in
Is confirmed.
is confirmed. Yeah, for the two amounts, 500 and 300. Okay. Have you got a proposal on that, or do you need one?
Should do.
Yeah. So propose that. Anyone else support it?
Thank you.
Good. 40. Minor items for information only. And any items on the next agenda? No?
You already mentioned it, couldn't you?
Yeah. Well, we got the Sustrader's presentation.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think so.
Okay.
Can I? Yeah, the next one's September, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I just remind you that you did ask me a couple of months ago to put on the September agenda the venue. Whether the venue needs to change. So it will be on the September agenda. Have a little think before then.
Right. Date of next meeting will be September the 3rd Monday of the month.
16th.
Thank you. The 9th. Okay, so that ends the public section of the meeting.
So can we just do the resolution to close, please?
Yeah, so
Proposed?
close the meeting,
Yeah.
propose that, and time, and just so that this has been shared now, isn't it, the agenda? So the reason why these three items are out of public view is that we're talking about member of staff and salary, and we're obviously talking about legal advice. Okay. Thanks everyone.